Welcome back to the Home Story Cup 9 North American Qualifiers. This is a fresh, brand new best of 3 between probably your two favorite Zerg players that North America has to offer. Spawning here in the top left corner of the map, we've been following him through a bit of the brackets today. We find him once again from Complexity Sound Blaster, the red Zerg player, hendralisk. And his opponent in the upper right, really well known for a lot of his antics. Not so well known for his ZVZ. We'll see how he fares. It's the Blue Zerg, Destiny. Now it's worth noting, I think there's going to be a fair amount of you who are unrightfully going to write Destiny off. A big part of the way he's kind of come back to StarCraft 2 is the fact that he's consistently been able to get GM again. And in the tournament, in the eyes of like a tournament player, whoa, actually, hang on. Hendra's getting a little bit cheesy here. Keep an eye on that 10 pool. But in the terms of like a tournament itself, guys, whether you're GM, like whether you're a high GM, low GM, it doesn't matter. As long as you're able to play on a competitive level, that's something Destiny's been able to do for a long time. You know, back once upon a time, he was probably one of the better Zerg players, period. He would take games off of players you would never imagine. Then, of course, you know, he swapped to LoL. We all know the story of Destiny. I don't need to paint you a big picture. But he's come back, and he's been back for a long time. He's had a lot of time to practice. We've seen him on his stream almost every night. If he's not playing EVE, he's playing StarCraft. And I think he's gonna have a rough time versus hendralisk, bottom line, but I absolutely think he's got a chance to. Oh my god, I didn't realize this wasn't a 10. Was this not a temple? Oh my god, hang on, this is the earlier spore call. This is that stupid cats thing where you're meant to snipe off the overlord. Some lings are coming out right now, and this is a little bit scary to look at, but the spore crawler's not gonna. Yeah, he cancels it. If the overlord had kept pathing over, he would have let the spore crawler complete and sniped off the overlord, thus supply blocking Destiny out of making any zerglings. But that's not the case. Now it's just 10 lings coming across the map. I imagine if he invests past 10, well, it's 8 at the moment. But if he invests past 10, then hendralisk is really going all in with this. The nice thing about a 10 pool for a Zerg player, you can actually recover economically from a 10 pool. That sounds so dumb to say, but it's not a big investment, and it's not an all-in like a Baneling addition to this. But the Spine Core coming down in a very, I'd say, inopportune spot, as we see. You can't mineral walk to defend it, so that's already going to cost Destiny a lot of time here. First unit does go down, some Zerglings starting to bleed out here. hendralisk does still have the Zergling count in a big way, and Destiny cannot fight this without the addition of the aid of drones. Drone drilling is going to be absolutely necessary, but a very cheesy move here in game number 1 has put hendralisk in a very good spot so far. Not only is Destiny losing a lot of mining, but hendralisk has started droning behind this. He's got a hatchery on the way. And this is what I was talking about, like economically recovering from a 10 pool. But I don't think he's going to be able to end the game straight up. He's picked off a couple workers, and nicely so. 2 have gone down, but also have a lot of the lings. But with the Spine Crawler actually completing, oh, he actually goes for the cancel. Destiny feeling really ballsy about this defense. Thinking, I guess he's feeling confident the Queen can hold this off. He gets a little bit aggressive here, of course. But hendralisk still with a lot of lings goes back home. Comes out ahead though. He's got more workers. Well, he had more workers for a moment, but he's got a hatchery above his opponents. He's gonna snipe off the overlord too. And yeah. Sorry guys, I closed the bets a little prematurely because people were pointing out that Destiny is streaming this with a delay, and that kind of ends up ruining the whole idea of the bet system. So the bets are closed, but we got wow. Okay, so if you guys get involved, first off, overlord, nice snipe there on hendralisk. There are 34,422 Partoofs being bet at the moment. This is more than we've ever had, ever, in the channel. This is like a record high for bets. There's 20,237 bet on hendralisk. There is 5,680 bet on Destiny, and of course I artificially injected another 8,000 into that. But even though I said the option is called do not bet on this option, there's still an additional 505 bets. You guys are idiots. I wanted option number 3. The only way that option gets picked is if I misclick. Anyways, as far as dialing back off this game goes, Destiny's a little bit behind in workers at the moment. Fine. He's got a Baneling Nest on the way though, so if there is further aggression out of hendralisk, it's already stopped dead in his tracks. The only thing hendralisk is going to be able to do to really push on any more pressure would be to go for roaches, but he's not exactly on that pathway just yet. Still playing very gasless. Now, gasless does eventually lead into roaches in ZVZ, but it's not something that comes fast, and it's something that's going to be delayed for quite a bit of time. In fact, is he going to go for... Okay, I was going to say, if he goes for a third right now instead of that full wall off, that is a very ballsy move to make. Destiny is unfortunately going to lose the majority of these links as he gets up here, but he scouts the double gases on the way. And if there's one thing about Destiny you can say, guys, it's that he's really fucking smart when it comes to StarCraft 2. He's the last guy to balance whine about losing to nothing, and he's the first one to recognize why something does or doesn't work. He jokes around a lot when he casts, but that's because he's got this high level of knowledge that he knows, like, it's not worth pointing out all the minor things. So I guarantee you, he sees those two gases only just being built with the natural, or certainly only sees one, but still, for him, he probably knows this was gasless with the spine crawler having been up and the evolution chamber down. Now, how he deals with this is going to be the big question. It's not exactly like you see gasless and you go like, okay, I'm going to automatically win this by going for fast Mutalisks or anything as such. That's not going to be the case. But Hendralisk makes sure Destiny doesn't have a third. Overlord will scout any drones coming up to this gold base, and the Zerglings are camping out around the third. So, I mean, he's pretty set as far as holding, but two Zerglings once again going to dart up here, try and confirm some scouting information. He will actually get to the main with these ones. And Hendralisk starts the lair. Now, this isn't going to be like a fake or anything. He's going to eventually move to lair tech anyways, but the timing for that starts exactly as the link gets up there. So, the corpse went flying. So Destiny knows exactly what's going on here for Hendralisk. The problem for Hendralisk, though, is roach fights, Mutalisk wars. These are all things that determine the victories based pretty much solely on numbers more than anything else in the early game. Hendralisk is going for upgrades right now, which is totally fine. He's going to have +1 weapon upgrades for the fight, but for Destiny, there's a small window of opportunity where he may want to strike. Recognizing that this is one of the weaknesses, Hendralisk does fully wall off. 100% walled off here at the top of his ramp. He may cancel the evolution chamber. He may end up killing it a little bit later. But he's seen that Destiny doesn't have a lot of options at the moment. And while his own Roach Warren's on the way, unless Destiny places down 3 to 5 Spine Crawlers, he's not going to be able to hold off Hendralisk's advance. What's going to end up happening here too is, like, even if you do put down 3 Spine Crawlers, sometimes Zerglings will just simply walk past them and go up to the main. But we got Burrow on the way for Hendralisk, and roaches are his strong suit, I would have to say. Let's not forget, by the way, guys, Hendralisk is a player who just recently beat out Scarlet in the WCS Premier League for North America. It takes a lot of skill to pull that off, and it's not going to be easy for Destiny to hold this. He does have a Spire on the way, but 22 Lings versus this many roaches will actually work. When you have a low count of roaches that are not backed up against the wall, that are not clumped up and do get fully surrounded, Zerglings early on work. For Destiny, this has to buy him time to get those Mutalisks out. Once the Mutas are in play, the roaches will not be as big of a problem. But if there's one unit that doesn't go fast, that does not die very fast to Mutalisks, it is certainly going to be roaches. So, again, nothing that he's going to be able to deal with too easily. Nothing in this game is going to be easy for Destiny, but he takes a gold base as his third. Hendralisk does see this, and that'll probably be the focus of his next attack. Oh, in fact, he's actually going to go to the Infestation Pits. Okay, so I could theorize a lot about what this could be. You know, we could say Hive, we could say possibly Infestors for the roaches, but probably going to end up being Swarm Hosts. I say this with a big dumb grin on my face because this is the strategy I know a lot of people really hate right now. And I don't know, maybe I'm masochistic, maybe it's just me being weird, but I really like watching Swarm Hosts and ZVZ. Just so long as we don't get the 4-hour games, right? You know, the decent ones. Anyways, 12 Mutalisks are about to pop out here, and, well, again, the roaches are not the scariest thing in the world right now. There's enough Zerglings to surround this, and Hendralisk is not going to snipe off this base. But there's a problem with Mutalisks, guys. Normally when you go Muta versus Muta and you transition out of it, it's like, usually back to roaches. If he just goes full on. No, he's actually, oh, by the way, not going to be for Swarm, it's going to be for Pathogen Glands, going to be for Hydralisk, and going to be for a way to deal with the Mutalisks. So I kind of thought he would force this out a different way. I was getting a little bit too ahead of myself with anticipation, I suppose. But, you know, we don't see a lot of fungal growths come out as the counter to Mutalisks anymore. I think they absolutely are the best way to handle it, but the problem is it's very difficult to land those fungals. Bleeding out a couple of Overlords here and there, but there's Spore Crawlers everywhere on this base. So, I mean, these Mutas are not going to fight anyone to get free damage. Maybe on the bottom side of this Extractor. But as we see, Queens and Spore Crawlers are going to be in range of these Mutas, and it only takes 3 shots. So, very careful with his control here. Ducks in and ducks out immediately. Back down towards the third for Hendralisk, though, happily mining. Still has this pretty nice saturation on all of his bases. And Destiny's only recently acquired that the gold. So, again, you look at the gold and you're like, oh boy, this is a lot of minerals. He's going to go into overdrive. But, actually, curiously enough, we do have Swarm Host coming out of Destiny. He's starting up his defensive line right now, and this is a strategy that I wasn't expecting out of him. Not versus Hendralisk, but Hendralisk is a player who's played against Swarm Host with success. He's played as Swarm Host with success. I don't imagine this is something that will outright shut him down, but it may be something that catches him off guard at the start. Now, we got a lot of Infestors popping out here for Hendralisk. And they do come loaded with those Pathogen Glands, so fungal growth may be in store for the Mutalisks, but, you know, it's... Oh, he actually doesn't know about this, does he? Where did that... No, he's got no idea about the Infestation Pit, so Swarm Hosts are going to catch him a little bit surprised. But the Mutalisk hit squad, it still goes on. Fungal growths get landed on a majority of the Mutalisks, though. And between the Fungals and the Queen DPS, he should be able to kill these. Destiny left with what is a handful of, I believe, 7-ish left afterwards. One more Fungal's going to need to lock these down. Yeah, he will lock these down. Overseer awkwardly going to get destroyed. And actually 2 of those Mutalists managed to escape. I guess he could have thrown down some infested Terrans, but chose not to in the end. Hendralisk coming across the map, though, will unfortunately find combination Spine Crawlers and Swarm Hosts waiting for him. Back. Well, this is going to be an interesting first game. It's worth noting, guys, we've actually had the pleasure on Base JT of casting a lot of Swarmhost games that did not end in Swarmhost versus Swarmhost. There are a lot of ways around it, but they're very hard to pull off. One of my favorites, by the way, of all time recently, we had Pig versus Petraeus in the Sea Masters Cup. Now, to the uneducated, you hear those names, you're like, who cares? They're not Korean. What do they matter? But they're in the sea scene, the Southeast Asia guys, in the Australian continent, everything there is ZVZ, and they've got some of the best ZVZ players there are. And Petraeus in this one game went for Swarmhost and Broodlords, well, mostly Swarmhost. Pig had also gone for the same composition, but you know what? Rather than letting it get to that Swarmhost versus Swarmhost situation on Heavy Rain, Pig says screw it, and he goes for a Nidus Swarm and catches all of the production completely unguarded, because that's the case with Swarmhost. You're typically not very mobile to defend. But pushing forward here, he does take out the first wave of Locusts. Some Fungal Growth still locked and loaded. Some Infested Terrans may end up coming down, but this is kind of hard for Destiny to hold. He doesn't have a way to stop the detection. He dives in with the Mutalisk, but again, the Hydras are a little too much, and Fungal Growth coming down on top of the Locust will also keep them locked backwards. Queen's on the front lines with this too. This is pretty heavily dedicated for Hendralisk. His supply count is holding strong though. 125 over 52 in the army value. A lot of this is in Queens though, but Destiny's going to call GG, and Hendralisk will not let this go to the 40-hour game. Congratulations, game number 1 will go to Hendralisk. But it is only game number 1. It's a best of 3, and Destiny still has a perfectly reasonable chance to come back into this.